Hey everybody, this is Rustin with Metalholic and the Examiner, and with us today, the ever outspoken, always unpredictable, and extraordinarily talented Otep Shamaya. How's everything going in your corner of the universe?
It is wonderful. Thank you so much for asking.
You've got so much going on right now. You're getting ready to set out on the Seduce and Destroy World Tour in 2 weeks, and you picked some amazing talent to join you in One-Eyed Doll and Picture Me Broken. I believe you had One-Eyed Doll out on the last tour, too, so that's going to be an exciting tour.
Indeed it is, and we're really excited to have these support acts with us. One-Eyed Doll, of course, has toured with us a few times. They're really a very interesting and artistic and creatively powerful band. They're a two-piece, and but what they're able to create on stage is something really, really remarkable. It's theatrical. It's really powerful. And it's important for me to give female fronted bands a shot, because we don't get that many shots in the music in the music scene these days. It's hard for female fronted bands to get anywhere. We don't get invited to festivals that often. We don't get invited to play or tour on the larger shows, unless that is you're pandering to a certain idea or stereotype of what a woman should be in metal. Using her sexuality to win over crowds versus the talent of their songwriting and their ability to perform. So for me, it's always important to try to give those people a shot that struggle and deserve it, and are superior and much more talented than a lot of the gimmick bands that seem to get all the attention.
Right. Well, and I would imagine you found something of a kindred spirit in Kimberly Freeman from One-Eyed Doll anyway. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. She and I have a whole lot in common, and that's always very nice when you share such an intimate event like a rock tour.
Right. So now you've declared Hydra, your incredible new album, which we'll talk about in a moment, to be your last. Does touring end there as well, or is that door still open?
Well, I actually never declared that. That was something that was declared for me, actually. But But I'll say this: it's frustrating that so many people focus on the fact that this, is the last album, or it's been said it's the last album, and all of that, because the album just came out.
Right.
I only wrote it 4 months ago. It's only been out for about a month. So it's really hard when it's like, oh, you just wrote a record 4 months ago. Like, literally, the ink left my pen 4 months ago. It didn't exist anywhere else 4 months ago. I just created it. And a fountain of fire out of the dark depths of my imagination 4 months ago. And now it's only been released 4 weeks ago. And everyone's talking about, well, it's over. What are you going to do next? Well, I just released a record. Why can't we focus on that? I do have other creative animals that I believe deserve to be nourished. I'm a writer, and I enjoy that very much. I'm a painter, and also, I illustrate and so forth. So there's some other things that need attention. It's very difficult to focus on them when music is sort of the tip of the spear. And, I go all in on everything that I do. So I've been doing this for 10 years, actually almost 11 years now. And so everything, it gets all of my creative energy, it gets all of my, my focus. And so for me, it feels like, okay, yeah, maybe it's time for a break and let me focus on some other things. But before we get to that, I've got a lot of promotion left to do for Hydra. I've got a lot of touring left to do for Hydra. I got a lot of stuff to do. There's a whole lot more art coming from this record that was only released 4 weeks ago.
Absolutely. And again, it's an incredible album, and I do want to talk about that in a minute. But before we even get to that, you had the live album that came out last year as well, your first live album. And you once said live music is where you live. Was it important for you to capture that on a live album in Sounds Like Armageddon, to have that piece of Otep's history recorded?
It really, really was. And I credit the label with approaching me about it, because I've been wanting to do a live album for years, and it was really difficult to find anybody to say that, to agree with me that this was a good idea. So it was great when the label approached and said, let's go ahead and agree to do that live album. And, we don't book shows. It's not part of what I do for a living. I'm not a booker. So when people are saying, oh, you've never been to Wales, oh, you've never been here, you've never been to Canada, it's like, I know, but it's not my fault. I really want to get there. And there's some people who are, for whatever reason, can't ever make it to a show. Maybe they have disabilities, or they just can't, we don't play anywhere near them, and they can't afford a bus ride or whatever. So in those regards, in territories where we haven't played, in places where people can't get to us, they can have the live album now and really, get as close to experiencing what we do on stage with Sounds Like Armageddon. I think, I would have liked to have done a live DVD, and perhaps that's something that we can put together later, and that way we'd have a visual aspect of it as well. But that would be a bit more of an endeavor, because I really would want to capture it artistically. But Sounds Like Armageddon, we worked really hard. We recorded, guerrilla recorded all these places, just set up, recorded. Didn't want a whole lot of people to know we were doing it, because we didn't want them to be shy. That happens sometimes when people see a microphone in front of them. We wanted them to be as wild and raw and crazy as they are when they come to our shows, and I think we really captured it on Sounds Like Armageddon.
Well, and Otep has always been an extraordinarily unique band. Seeing it is as important, I think, as hearing the music, because the music is so incredible, but seeing the whole visual effect is stunning too. Yeah. So, but we're thrilled to have the live album.
Indeed, yeah, and that's why a lot of bands have filming policies, and the only really regulation we have against filming is nothing that can be used. Like, I don't want anybody setting up a 3-camera shot so that they can bootleg DVDs or anything like that. But if it's just for your phone, or if it's just to post on YouTube, or just to have a memory of that night, I encourage it, because I think it's important for people to see the emotion in our faces, and to see the movement of the players, to see how the music affects us, right, and the crowd, the swarming crowd around us.
Well, now let's talk about your new creative child that just came out 4 weeks ago. Your 6th album. It's a concept album. I understand it's based on a graphic novel that you've been working on. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. The story itself began as just some, as a poem, random little automatic writings that kind of just burst forth from my hand. And then when I went back and reviewed them, it evolved into a story, and then the story evolved into a book, and then I thought, well, I'm going to write a book. And it started to get really intricate and detailed, where I was not only doing sort of a narrative, a chronology of events, but also writing down a diary of things, and all these, it was just springing forth from me. And so I was speaking to someone about it, and they said, this would be a really good graphic novel. So then I thought, oh, what a great idea. So we started to maneuver this into a graphic novel, and by doing that, you have to pare it down and really just keep in the essentials. And so then we went on the road, and I started writing, or started performing, and the writing had to be put aside. But then when the label said, okay, when you get off the road, you got to go write in the studio. So when I got in the room and I started to pick up the pen and started to write some of these songs, I realized, wait a second, these are Hydra's writing these. She's writing them. She's speaking through me. And I thought it might be a remarkable experiment to sort of do a little bit of character and method acting, where I just stay in character for the entire record process and see what comes, take down the barriers, those sort of moral suppressions that we have against rage, against our animal primal instincts, and see what that feels like. Right. And the more that it emerged, the more that I really understood that, the vast majority of this character is actually me. And this is what happens, or what would happen, if I didn't have these, morality walls protecting the world from my vengeance, from my wrath. But, for example, Voyeur was written partially inspired by something I read about. Some kid in Eastern Europe was YouTubing or live leaking or something, videos of himself murdering animals, and he was suffocating them and destroying them in these horrible ways, these little stray dogs he found and neighbors' pets. And then there were other videos that were in America of like kids hurting their own pets in showers and seeming to get quite a kick out of it. And I just, I don't understand that kind of cruelty, hurting the innocent. I don't understand that.
Right.
So the response of rage that I felt ended up being, sort of this, yes, of course, I'm glad that he was caught. Anonymous, the hacktivist group Anonymous, actually hunted down these people and brought them to justice. Fantastic. They're going to go and serve time in whatever, legal capacity they can. But in my world, and in my first response was that these people should pay in the same way that they doled out their hate and their cruelty. So voyeur then became, my artistic way of dealing with that emotionally. That it was a really remarkable experience. There is a bit of a thorn, I believe, of her left in me, and sometimes I catch myself, experiencing wrath in ways that I don't particularly care for. So I often wonder about method actors and how they are able to do that when they become a character. They fall so deep into that world. Undercover agents and that kind of those kinds of people who are able to infiltrate terrorist organizations, or those, how they're able to segregate those pieces of the person that they've created in order to to live that life. I think it's very difficult, and it's been a bit of a really thrilling experience, but I'm not sure I'll do it again.
Yeah, very intense for sure. And Hydra, to me, when I listened to it, really felt like not a culmination, but perhaps an amalgamation of all your work. And were there things that...
Thank you.
I mean, knowing that whether it was your choice or the label's choice or whatever, that this was probably the final record, at least for now, were there things you wanted to make sure you said on this record?
Well, absolutely. As a final record, I wanted to make sure that, I wanted to make sure that we were able to do the things that we enjoy doing without, and even just approaching it that way. It was like, this is the last one. Hey, we'll do whatever we want. I think there was a liberation there, and to me, it's some of my best works. The fans seem to agree. I'm very pleased about that. There were some people who kind of doubted it and said, "Oh, this is too much like Seduce Destroy. It's too new metal for the contemporary scene." Or it's too heavy, or it's too weird, or it's too dark, it's too artsy. There's all those things. And people always have this kind of feedback to me, and I have a filter. It just doesn't it's like a force field. It doesn't break through that barrier. I just, okay, thank you for your opinion. I didn't ask for it. But I'm not here for that. I'm here to experience the world of art. I'm here to do my best as an artist and to interpret the artistic occurrences that are happening within me and deliver them in a way that I feel is rich and robust and creative and insightful and clever and beautiful and frightening all at the same time. So when I sat down with the writers, the musicians, I wanted, we all wanted to have, we had certain objectives. One was to make sure that we had a certain sense of nostalgia, which is, to make sure that songs from the first and second and third records, those kinds of foundational songs, the foundation of those songs were there, the nucleus of that sound, of that approach was there. But let's not be afraid to expand and evolve and to reach out and to grow as an artist, because times have changed. People are, it's a lot of synths now, which we didn't use a whole lot of that, but the sound of music has changed. Julie Anders. Sorry, I just hashtagged our conversation right there. Anyway.
That's okay.
Yeah, I spend way too much time on Twitter. But or as the rappers call it, drop lyrics, which it's just hashtags, people. I'm going to parade, Macy's. That's a hashtag. Anyway, sorry. But veering off. So we wanted to make sure that the album possessed first era works, and and especially me vocally, I wanted to kind of recapture that spirit, and which was just kind of this pure, raw, emotional thing. Just do a take, and just however the song makes you feel, put that on there, and then we can always go back and sort out the best takes. But but just experience the song as it happens. Don't focus so much on, that it's got to be perfect. It's got to be real, and that's what we were going after.
Well, I think the album has a very primal feel to it anyway, and I think a lot of that comes from just your performances, because you are always very raw and very primal and very energetic, and it comes through in your voice, but I think perhaps more so on this album because of the topics. So,
thank you.
Which brings us to our next topic here real quick, because next week you're unveiling the new Apex Predator video. Everybody's excited and waiting for it. Give us a hint of what we can expect.
Ooh, well, this is probably my most provocative video to date, and that's saying a lot since we had the Warhead video caused quite a stir. I think anybody that looks back at the Warhead video now goes, why is this such a big deal? It's true, But at the time, we were addressing certain lies and falsehoods and hypocrisies and betrayals of the United States government that were perpetrated by the Bush administration on the American people. And so when it first came out, there were a lot of people who were, who objected and refused to accept it and just, dismissed the video right away. Now it's one of my most, it's what we're known for. So with Apex Predator video, I feel like it's going to get a similar response in some ways, because although it does follow the chronology of the song, which is, and a lot of it, the imagery, a lot of the imagery for me, what I wanted to capture was what I love about American Horror Story 2 Asylum, that there was this, this sort of terrifying sense of intensity within the walls of a place of healing when you know that it's actually a place of torture. It's a place of terror. And so we wanted to have those elements in the video, but it's also extremely sexy. There's a little bit of sapphic love going on in the video, but we're also challenging with a little bit of political and cultural subtext, the phobias and hypocrisies and so forth that exist within our culture. So I think it's going to be something. It's at once terrifying, it's at once seductive and sexy, and it's also sort of mind pollination as well.
Right. Ozzy said, "You can't kill rock and roll," and we all embrace that. But the very fans who wave that flag are sort of putting the nail in the rock and roll coffin by stealing the artist's works. And I know that had a lot to do with what's going on with you right now and taking a hiatus from music. Can you speak on that a bit?
Certainly. And I know I'm a bad guy. I'm a real bad guy when it comes to this. I become sort of villainized. People don't like it when I speak about this because they say, "Oh, you just care about the money. You don't care about the music." No, I do care about the music. That's why I'm speaking out, because I've seen it happen. We were signed by Capitol Records, major label, after only 4 shows without a demo. We were signed purely on our live performance. That wouldn't happen these days in the way that it happened for us, because labels refuse to take chances on bands that are interesting or weird or have that it could be somewhat dangerous, because they can't take risks anymore. Pirating has destroyed the music industry. It is, people wonder why rappers and country and western artists and pop acts are dominating everything, from retail chains to record sales to everything that you see on television, and it's because those fans buy music. That is the bottom line. People can say, well, why doesn't this particular store, why do they carry rap music when all they do is talk about bitches and hoes and drugs and guns? Because that sells. Don't yell at the store. Yell at yourself for downloading illegally your favorite band's music. I've seen bands who have sold gold records, rock bands who've sold gold records, who are now traveling in a van because there's just nothing for them anymore.
Absolutely.
There's no tour support anymore. Labels can't afford it. And, as much as, it puts me in a very, sort of curious predicament, because I end up subtly defending the record industry in a way that, look, it's a corporation. Of course they want to make money. That's what they're there for. But if they make money, then they can give more back to the fans. That's just kind of the way it is. But at the same time, pirating, they'll say, well, pirating helps the small bands get discovered. Sure. And it doesn't affect the larger bands because they have more coverage and they still get the big festivals and they still get, you know, prime time and all of that, media coverage. But it hurts the middle class bands. The bands like mine who've stayed underground. We've stayed underground for 11 years. We could have sold out. We could have wrote pop hits. We could have went out there and done at what other bands have done and who have become very successful doing and who've alienated all of their underground fans. We stayed true to our fans. So, and there are a lot of bands like mine who've done exactly that, stayed true to the fans. And how do they get repaid? By having these people steal their music. I mean, it's just so frustrating. You know, if a painter painted a bunch of paintings and everybody loved them and they walked in and just stole them off the wall, what do you call that? You don't call that pirating. You call that stealing. You know, and music is worth so much more. No disrespect to painters. I'm a painter. But music is so much more than a painting to me. When I have a bad day, when I have my heart broken, when I've had a great day, when I feel like screaming at the universe, I put on a song, my favorite song. When I want to recollect back to a time that doesn't exist anymore, a moment in my life that happened that was meaningful to me that I can never get back, you know what I can do? I can put on a song. I can put on a song and I can remember that moment, where I was, what it felt like. I can have all that. I can bring all that. And music does that. Music does that for you. Music can heal a wounded heart. Music can empower you. Music can give you that extra, you know, that extra fuel at the gym or, you know, give you the courage for that job interview or, you know, at a loss of a loved one who I've experienced that recently within the past year or so. I've had a couple of deaths in my family and music helped me through that. And what my fans say, my music, how much our music's helped them and how much music's helped me. And it's 99 cents for that song, that one song that takes you back to that wonderful moment, that helps you heal through that heartbreak. It helps you empower you when you feel strong and you want to scream joy at the world. 99 cents, less than $1. And it's not worth that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the most tragic part of the idiocy to me is people will go out and spend $10 at McDonald's buying one meal or a cup of coffee at Starbucks, which is gone in 2 minutes. But a song or an album, which is eternal, lasts forever.
Right.
And
well, I'll tell you just quickly, it's not just the bands. I'm not just speaking about bands. You know, I didn't want to do this as a hobby. I wanted to do this as a profession. And most musicians who are sitting in their room learning guitar chords and they're learning, you know, or drummers who were, you know, learning their favorite songs and writing and poets who are sitting down. And I mean, of course, everyone wants to get published. Everyone wants to be able to devote their time to this. Of course, you know, yes, it's not just about, I'm not asking to live in a mansion or anything. I'm saying, listen, I've created this. You know, I worked hard on it. And the thing is that it's destroyed the other aspects of the music industry as well. Studios, technical people who love music, so they devoted their genius to music, are now having to go into software and apps, you know, and video games and things like that because they can't make a living in music. You know, engineers, people like that, they can't do it anymore because no one's buying our extreme music, you know, so they have to focus in other areas.
Right, almost everybody's got a day job anymore because there's just no other choice.
Yep. And it's simply because people don't buy the music. And so, you know, there are those of us, I'm Irish, so I'll stick with something rotten until I die, you know. That's just kind of the Irish mentality. So I'm, you know, and I still plan on creating music. I'm not going to disappear off the planet. I'm not going to you know, go live off in the Sahara Desert someplace or go to Antarctica. I'm still going to be here. I'm still going to be around. I just want to devote some extra time to some other creative places because, you know, I want to, and I feel the need to do that. And I love music so much. I love it so much. It's given me a life I never thought I'd have, and I don't want to resent it. You know, I don't want to become resentful of something that I love so much. So I know there are people that disagree with me, and I respect those people that disagree with me. But I'll ask you a simple question: do you work for free? You know, would you do that? Would you come and clean? You know, whatever you do, would you do it for free? You know, would you let someone just walk in your house and take something that you worked so hard? If you know, sculpted if you cut a chair out of a tree, or, you know, and polish it up and and slivered down and someone just walked in, hey, that's nice, I'm going to take that. Or if you built a car and you renovated it and made it all sweet and cherry, and then somebody says, yep, it's mine, I'm taking it, I like it, did a great job, and they drove off with it. I mean, it would be heartbreaking, you know? It would be heartbreaking. So I don't want to end up presenting music. I love it. I want to keep that spirit alive. So for me, it's about just trying to keep my hope and energy alive within music, within art, and you know, just do something else that makes me happy for a little bit.
Right. You know,
but I got a long way to go. Please, let's not overlook that. We got a lot of touring to do. Part of my excitement about all of this and about even writing the record is to take the live music, or to take these songs that we wrote in the studio and then bring them to life on stage, and that is going to be very, very exciting.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping I get a chance to see you on this tour, because right now you don't have any Pacific Northwest dates, and I'm out in the Boise area, but then no Seattle.
Right on. Well, afterwards, yeah, well, see, we have this run, and then we're going to Australia and then Mexico City. And again, I don't book the shows, right. So it's like, you know, I wish if I did, I'd be like, sure, we're playing there tomorrow, no problem. You know, that's not how it works. We're trying to sort it out so that we can have a better engagement with shows and fans. It's just been the process. Again, this is another thing that is just so difficult about music, is that a lot of the processes are so convoluted. I equate the music industry a lot to the American government, and that there's a whole lot of bureaucracy, a whole lot of red tape and nonsense that does not need to be there. So we're trying to sort all of that out at the moment. But after Australia, after Mexico, after this first United States run, we go to Australia, then we go to Mexico City, and then they're trying to get maybe some more South America dates, and then maybe some European dates. But in between all of that, we're going to go back and definitely hit the rest of all the tertiary markets and other markets that we didn't hit. And when I say markets, I mean cities.
Right.
That's just lingo. But we'll go back, we'll hit a lot of these cities and areas that we weren't able to get on the first run. It's just that it's so late in the year, and we have to go to Australia. Otherwise, we would have gone probably, you know, from March off into May, but we can't. We got to go to Australia.
No, we'll hopefully get to see you.
So we're going to get you.
So last question. You're such an incredibly creative person. I want to know where your journey's taking you next. And when people look back on this era and aspect of your career, what do you hope they take away?
Well, what's next? I've got 3 books that I've been writing for the past 4 years that, again, remain in some sort of disrepair and gathering digital dust. And I go back and read them, and some of them are great, and some of them are just awful, and they need a lot of attention. So I'm going to focus a lot of attention on that. I've got a couple of charity organizations that I want to work with, and try to build them up to where they deserve. We've started them, but I've not really had the time to devote as much attention. Again, when something is important to me, I go all in. So it's really important for me to have as much time and to devote to it as I can. I'm going to be still creating, still being involved in social media and all of that, so nobody fear. But I suppose, you know, I'm gonna try to see what else is I can do, and maybe it'll be a complete and utter disaster in some ways, but you know, it's going to be, that's what we do. You know, as a writer, when I used to handwrite everything, there's always and I handwrite a lot of my song lyrics. I'll be surrounded by a pile of crumpled paper because that's a terrible idea. Oh, that doesn't sound right. And nope, what am I doing? And let me start over. So, and then I'll find it, and there'll be one sheet of paper surrounded by, you know, a floor full of crumpled paper. And that crumpled paper were all failures. That crumpled paper was all disasters. But those disasters, those failures led me to that one sheet of paper that still sits there and is full of, you know, the idea that I've been trying to get to all this time.
Right.
So I don't mind not achieving it on the first try, or the second, or the third, or the 30th. Just keep trying, keep finding my way. That's what I hope to do.
And what do you hope people take away?
What I hope people take away from the music is that, you know, that I did my best, and that I hope that I inspired them. I hope I motivated them. I hope that I incited a thought or an emotion within them, as they do me, as they, you know, my fans inspire me. They incite me. They give me hope. you know, in the art that I like, the type of music that I like to listen to, they do the same thing for me. So as long as I feel like I've done that, I feel like I've accomplished what I'd hoped for. I hope they also enjoy the music. I hope that they found something unique in what we do, and that, you know, that most of our songs, though they are aggressive, though they are extreme in some ways, they're all about overcoming obstacles. They're all about defeating, you know, negative energy, negative people. Life is so short. It doesn't seem like it at the time, but it is, and it goes by so fast. And, you know, we spend so much time worried about what other people think about us or what other people are going to say, that we sometimes forget to just live our life, to pursue what makes us happy, not what we think other people would think about, would this make me happy? I wonder if so-and-so thinks this will make me happy. Stop worrying about that. You just don't worry. Just do what makes you happy. Be responsible and so forth. But just, you know, find your own joy, and because that's really what it's all about, you know.
Absolutely. And you have touched us in remarkable and unusual ways that will stay with us forever, and hopefully there will be more music to come. But let's not forget, the new album just came out. The tour is about to hit. There's a whole lot more Otep coming. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. It's exciting to get to hear all the things that are going on, and we look forward to seeing you and hearing what's going to happen next down the road with music and with all your other art.
Thank you very, very much for the opportunity. I really enjoyed the interview. Thank you.
Absolutely. Take care of yourself.